The Bold and the Beautiful. Taylor's pregnancy shakes Los Angeles as Sheila unleashes her most sinister plan yet in a world where secrets don't stay buried and redemption comes at a brutal cost. The Bold and the Beautiful has once again detonated a storyline that promises to unravel loyalties, shatter trust, and drag the Forrester family, and everyone orbiting it, into a new era of chaos. This time, the focal point is Dr. Taylor Hayes, a woman known for healing others. A woman who has survived her own share of mental health battles. A woman who now faces the most unexpected, high-stakes twist of her life. She's pregnant. And the father? Deacon Sharp. It all started quietly enough. A professional obligation. Taylor, licensed, composed, and steady, agreed to help Deacon navigate the psychological fallout of his toxic entanglement with Sheila Carter. What began as clinical sessions slowly gave way to something more human. Two damaged souls connecting in quiet, unspoken understanding. But just as they found peace in each other's presence, life threw them a curveball neither expected, and neither could walk away from. Taylor's pregnancy was confirmed weeks after their last session. Her first reaction wasn't fear. It was hope, a chance to do something right, to build a family on her own terms. Not under Ridge's shadow, not in reaction to Brooke, not in the tug of war between legacy and scandal. Just hers, just life, just healing. But that fragile peace didn't last. Because in the darkness, someone was watching. Sheila Carter, never far from Deacon's world, got wind of Taylor's pregnancy before the Forresters even knew. And in her twisted logic, this baby wasn't just a threat. It was leverage. To Sheila, the child wasn't Taylor's redemption, it was the key to Deacon's loyalty. And she would stop at nothing to control it. The manipulation began subtly. A staged car accident near the Forrester compound. Minor injuries. No charges filed. But the driver fled the scene and the car was traced to a rental under a fake name. Days later, Taylor received an anonymous letter warning her, "You won't make it to term unless you step away." Then came the therapy board inquiry. Completely unfounded, suggesting Taylor was practicing outside ethical bounds due to emotional entanglement with Deacon. Sheila had weaponized the system before. And now she was doing it again. Whispers started circulating through the media. Taylor Hayes pregnant by ex-con. Another Forrester scandal? The press latched on, and the gossip didn't stop there. Within the family, skepticism turned to concern. Ridge, already uneasy about Taylor's closeness to Deacon, accused her of making reckless choices. Steffi, torn between defending her mother and protecting the Forrester image, tried to walk a tightrope. Even Thomas hesitated, publicly silent but privately wary. Taylor stood alone, forced to defend her pregnancy from her own legacy. She didn't waver. She went public. Announced her pregnancy with composure and strength. She explained it wasn't planned but it was wanted. That she was ready. That she had more to give. That her past didn't define her future. But even as she stood tall, the attacks intensified. Paparazzi outside her home. Reporters camped outside her clinic. Patients canceling appointments. The slow erosion of her professional credibility. All orchestrated by the same force lurking behind the curtain. Sheila. And then came the most harrowing moment yet. Taylor scheduled a routine ultrasound. Alone. Her medical team was expecting a normal checkup. But as she arrived, a last-minute emergency patient was slipped into the roster. An unnamed woman brought in by paramedics after claiming sudden abdominal pain. The woman? Sheila. In disguise. Bad wig, fake blood, false ID. But the minute Taylor walked into the ultrasound room and locked eyes with her, the trap was already sprung. Taylor froze. Her heart rate spiked. The monitors blared warnings. The technician panicked as the fetal heart rate dropped. Taylor, physically unharmed, was mentally and emotionally ambushed. The stress caused uterine contractions. An immediate threat to the baby. Security was called, but Sheila slipped away before they arrived. The clinic launched an internal investigation. But no official charges could be filed without a confirmed ID. Word spread like wildfire. Ridge exploded. He demanded Taylor stop seeing Deacon. Accused him of opening the door to Sheila again. Steffi backed her mother publicly but began pushing for Taylor to step away from public appearances. Brooke, uncharacteristically, offered sympathy, but warned her to keep her distance from Deacon for the baby's sake. And Thomas? Silent again, watching, processing, distant, but the real pressure came from Deacon himself. Cornered by both women, one carrying his child, the other threatening to burn down everything he's built. Deacon finally had to choose. And this time, he didn't get to play the gray area. Taylor was in danger. The baby was at risk. And Sheila was tightening the noose with every passing hour. In a stunning move, Deacon went to the media himself. Called an impromptu press conference outside Il Giardino. denounced Sheila publicly, called her a manipulative, dangerous force who had crossed every line, confirmed Taylor's pregnancy and vowed to stand by her and the child no matter what. It was bold, defiant, reckless, but it sent a clear message: he was choosing Taylor. The fallout was immediate. Sheila, watching from the shadows, seethed. Her pawn had rebelled. Her plan cracked. But she wasn't finished. Never finished. And everyone knew it. Security around Taylor was increased. The clinic closed temporarily. Deacon moved in to support her. The Forresters, wary but protective, formed a reluctant truce around her. Even Bill Spencer, never far from the chaos, offered private investigators to track Sheila's movements. But the damage was done. Taylor's world would never be the same. The pregnancy, once a personal redemption, had become a battlefield. The child, still growing, still fighting, was now the center of a war involving betrayal, obsession, and revenge. And the real question wasn't whether Taylor would carry to term. It was whether she'd survive long enough to hold her baby in her arms. Because Sheila Carter wasn't finished. And Taylor Hayes had just become her obsession. The Bold and the Beautiful has thrown down the gauntlet. A mother-to-be, a criminal mastermind, a man split between past sins and future hope, a baby that could change everything or destroy it all. The road ahead is treacherous. And no one gets out unscarred. The Bold and the Beautiful. Taylor's baby sparks war over legacy, identity, and a dangerous web of lies. The news of Taylor Hayes' unexpected pregnancy set off an emotional explosion in Los Angeles that not only rocked the Forrester family but cracked open old grudges, resurrected painful legacies, and thrust long-simmering rivalries back into full blaze. What should have been a private celebration of new life quickly spiraled into a ruthless tug-of-war over bloodlines, surnames, reputations, and survival. In The Bold and the Beautiful, a baby is never just a baby. And Taylor's child with Deacon Sharp has become the latest battleground where love, vengeance, and power collide. It began the moment Taylor made her pregnancy public. Deacon stood beside her, steady, resolved, ready to embrace the consequences of their complicated past. But before the news could settle, the Forrester family moved swiftly, led by Ridge, Steffi, and Thomas, to make one thing clear: the child would bear the Forrester name. In their eyes, this baby, conceived by a woman who had given decades of loyalty, love, and family to the Forresters, deserved to be tied permanently to their legacy. Ridge saw it as an opportunity to reclaim Taylor from the shadows of her relationship with Deacon. Steffi called it the restoration of the family name. Even Thomas, ever protective of the Forrester image, supported the demand, but Deacon refused to be erased. He didn't see this child as a symbol of a Forrester dynasty. He saw a chance to rewrite his own legacy, something untainted by his criminal past or his association with Sheila Carter. This baby was his child too, and he wouldn't allow them to be raised as if he was nothing but a biological mistake. "I'm not just a footnote in your family tree," he told Ridge in a now infamous confrontation. "Outside Forrester Creations, I'm their father, and I'm not going anywhere." What began as a dispute over a surname escalated into a full-blown ideological war between two families. On one side stood the Forresters, fiercely protective of their brand, their blood, and their image. On the other, Deacon and Hope Logan, demanding recognition, legitimacy, and equality for a child not yet born. The tension only escalated when Sheila Carter, ever opportunistic, inserted herself into the narrative with surgical precision, knowing full well that she was the weakest link in Deacon's quest for redemption. She struck where it hurt most: fear. Within days of the baby announcement, rumors began spreading like wildfire through media outlets, parenting blogs, and private whisper networks. Taylor's unborn child was genetically at risk for psychological instability. The whispers grew louder. Sheila leveraged her knowledge of mental health diagnoses within her own bloodline, twisting facts and speculations into something darker, more sinister. She fed anonymous tips to reporters, seeded concerned patient letters to medical boards, and even leaked old, sealed documents about her own psychiatric past, implying a possible hereditary link. She framed it as concern. She pretended to be worried for the baby. But behind closed doors, she smirked as chaos unfolded. Steffi, caught between her loyalty to her mother and her fear of what Sheila might have corrupted, demanded a full prenatal panel. Ridge agreed. Taylor, wanting transparency, complied. But Deacon pushed back, furious that his unborn child was being treated like a potential threat. "This baby isn't a ticking time bomb," he shouted during a family meeting that ended in disaster. "They deserve to be loved, not dissected." Then came Hope. Hope Logan, always the calm in the storm, found herself in direct opposition to Steffi once again. where Steffi saw a potential threat to the Forrester brand. Hope saw judgment, elitism, and a repeat of the sins that had once haunted her own childhood. "You're doing to Taylor's baby what you all did to me," she said through clenched teeth. "You're trying to erase them before they've even been born." The hope Steffi wore reignited. Fierce and raw, this wasn't about fashion lines or romantic rivalries anymore. This was about family, identity, whose children mattered, and who had the right to determine a child's future. In the midst of it all, the test results arrived. The baby was healthy. No genetic markers of concern. No neurological red flags. No indicators of inherited mental illness. Taylor breathed for the first time in weeks. Deacon wept in private. The Forresters were stunned. And the media, quick to feast on rumors, now turned their gaze on the source of the lie. What they found was damning. A whistleblower from the lab leaked the truth. One of the lab techs had been bribed to alter preliminary results and leak false data to press. Contacts. The briber? Sheila Carter. Through a shadow shell company. Payment made in cash. A nurse named Ava Harding. Assigned to night shifts and easily manipulated. Admitted under questioning that she had taken money from an older woman with dark hair and fake credentials to rerun the samples using false parameters. The entire story fell apart. Fast. Sheila was exposed. Her plot to sabotage Taylor's pregnancy and undermine Deacon's credibility was now public knowledge. The community turned on her instantly. Former sympathizers walked away. Even Il Giardino, where she once loitered in the shadows of Deacon's life, banned her from the premises. Social media exploded. Sheila Carter was once again a pariah. This time not for murder or attempted assassination, but for trying to psychologically destroy an unborn child before they even had a chance to take a breath. But she didn't retreat. She doubled down. Cornered. Disgraced. With no leverage left, Sheila snapped. Reports surfaced that she began stalking Taylor's clinic again, leaving cryptic notes at the front desk. One read, "You can lie to the world, but blood doesn't lie." Another simply said, "That child is mine." Security was increased. Police were notified, but the damage was already done. Taylor, now in her second trimester, was placed on modified bed rest, not for physical reasons, but emotional safety. The weight of the attacks, the media attention, the family feud, and Sheila's endless interference had taken its toll. Deacon moved into her home full-time. The Forresters reluctantly accepted the arrangement, realizing that unity was the only path forward, even if it was paved in compromise. Hope and Steffi called a truce, temporary, fragile, but sincere. For the baby, Ridge, after weeks of silence, apologized to Taylor for doubting her strength. "I forgot," he said, "that you've always been the one who holds the center when the world falls apart." And Sheila? She disappeared. Again. Her last sighting was outside the hospital, watching Taylor's car from across the street. Her face unreadable. Police issued a restraining order. But as everyone in Los Angeles knows, legal lines have never stopped Sheila Carter. The child inside Taylor Hayes has yet to be born. But already, that child has become a symbol, for fear, for hope, for redemption, for legacy. The war over their future has only just begun. But one thing is now clear, this baby won't be erased. Not by shame, not by fear, and definitely not by Sheila Carter. In a city where names matter more than truth and family trees grow twisted. The next chapter of The Bold and the Beautiful promises to redefine what it means to belong. And what people will do to protect the future they believe is theirs to shape. The Bold and the Beautiful. Sheila's 72-hour countdown unleashes a final storm. But Taylor fights back and reclaims her power in the ruthless, high-stakes world of The Bold and the Beautiful. Secrets don't stay buried, enemies don't stay down, and even the most calculated schemes can backfire when aimed at the wrong target. After weeks of being pushed to the margins and watching her manipulations collapse one by one, Sheila Carter has reached the end of her rope, and she's made a decision that could change everything. With the world turning against her and her last connections unraveling, Sheila initiates what she calls her final countdown, a personal 72-hour ultimatum to force Taylor Hayes out of Deacon's life forever. For Sheila, this isn't just about control. It's survival. Deacon has chosen Taylor. The public has shamed her. Her lies have been exposed. Her attempts to poison perception, literally and metaphorically, have failed. So she launches one last offensive, designed not to destroy Taylor physically, but mentally. If she can't eliminate Taylor with force, she'll do it with fear. The goal: make Taylor crack under pressure, spiral into self-doubt, and willingly walk away from Deacon before the final 72 hours are up. Phase 1 begins with psychological warfare. Sheila anonymously leaks a story to media outlets about the suspicious death of a former patient Taylor once treated during her early psychiatric career. The case, long closed, was deemed a suicide. But the media smear reopens old wounds. The headlines scream, "Can Taylor Hayes be trusted with a child when her past patients didn't survive?" Anonymous social media accounts push the narrative further, circulating conspiracy theories, edited interview clips, and even fabricated statements suggesting Taylor had been under professional review for the incident years ago. Taylor is blindsided. She knows the truth, but perception in LA is powerful and often unforgiving. Still, she holds firm. Instead of collapsing, Taylor does what few ever expect in this city: she confronts it head-on. She reaches out to former colleagues, re-examines the case, retrieves court documents, and, most importantly, she releases her own public statement through a press conference. Cool, composed, resolute. "I've dedicated my life to healing, not hiding," she says. "And I will not let grief, nor manipulation, distort the truth." The move garners widespread support. Many in the community rally behind her. But Sheila isn't finished. Phase 2 of her plan hits harder. More personal, more insidious. Taylor receives a package, anonymous again. Inside are a series of altered sonogram images, each one depicting abnormalities. One showing a distorted fetal heart, another suggesting a neurological condition. Accompanying them is a forged lab report citing a 99% probability of catastrophic birth defect. No letter, no instructions, just fear in print. Sheila is betting on Taylor's own expertise working against her. That her medical background will compel her to believe what she sees. That maternal panic will override logic. But Taylor, shaken, doesn't react impulsively. She consults independent physicians, 3 of them. Each runs their own tests, verifies her records, and confirms what Taylor has suspected all along. The documents are falsified. The baby is healthy. The data was planted. And now, Taylor shifts tactics. She begins documenting everything. Recording calls, taking screenshots, cataloging timestamps. Each trap Sheila sets becomes another breadcrumb leading back to her. By the time the final day of the countdown arrives, Taylor has a complete case file, a psychological profile of a woman attempting to gaslight and sabotage her. She's ready to expose Sheila, but she doesn't get the chance. Because Sheila, desperate and cornered, decides to take one final risk. Believing there's one last piece of evidence buried in the archives of the Westside Medical Storage facility, Sheila breaks in under cover of night. She's looking for Taylor's private files, the original records of the old patient death. She thinks if she can tamper with those, she can finally frame Taylor for malpractice and force her off the professional map. But she doesn't anticipate the building's newly installed biometric security system. The moment she enters the back vault, the alarm is tripped and the entire wing locks down. Trapped, alone, and with no escape, the silent facility becomes a tomb. Steel doors seal shut, emergency lights flicker, airflow drops, and for the first time, Sheila Carter realizes she might have gone too far. But someone answers the alarm. Deacon Sharp, racing to the scene after receiving a suspicious ping from a security contact. Deacon arrives and unlocks the final door manually, pulling Sheila out of the records vault just as she begins to lose consciousness from heat and lack of oxygen. He doesn't scream. He doesn't ask why. He doesn't even demand an explanation. He just looks at her, heartbroken, exhausted, done. Sheila, still catching her breath, tries one last card. "You saved me," she whispers, "because part of you still loves me." But Deacon isn't moved. "I saved you," he says, "so that you'd finally stop destroying everyone else." Then, with Ridge and Taylor arriving moments later, alongside LAPD officers, Deacon demands a deal. Sheila avoids formal charges on one condition. She signs a binding legal agreement, crafted by Carter Walton himself, that bars her from any and all contact with Taylor, the child, or Deacon's future family. Violation means immediate prosecution for criminal harassment, breaking and entering, and obstruction of justice. At first, Sheila refuses. But Deacon pushes. "You've burned every bridge, Sheila. This is the only one left standing. You either walk away now or lose what little humanity people think you have left." Cornered, defeated, out of moves, she signs. The 72-hour countdown ends not with Taylor broken, but with Sheila removed, by her own hand, by her own mistake, by the one man she thought would never let her go. Taylor, bruised but unshaken, walks out of the warehouse holding her own truth, her own voice, her own strength. The world doesn't need to save her. She has saved herself. Back home, Taylor files every piece of evidence. She adds one last line in her notes, final entry. Subject has terminated engagement. No further interference expected. Deacon places a hand on her shoulder. "You made it," he says. "We made it," she replies. But next time, I won't need saving. Their child is safe. Their future is theirs again. And while in the shadows Sheila Carter may still lurk, for now, the page has turned. And the next chapter belongs to Taylor.